Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new Art of the Game over here at Cabbit Crossing. We're back, us three game masters sharing some of our experience over the years, GMing and various game systems, where we share tips, we share tricks, we share debates, heated debates.
We share our debates.
Oh, yeah. We are at each other's throats all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, constantly.
And it's just luckily we're not in the same room, or we'd be just going, and so this is episode 50. 50
Yay.
Episodes. So,
oh my god!
Hey,
And we still have topics we haven't talked about.
I know there's lots to talk about. So, what are we talking about today, Woody?
Okay, so this was I alluded to this in our last episode. This is kind of an unintended continuation of last episode, but we were talking about GM burnout, but then what leads to it, right? And so I was at the HorrorCon in Puyallup, Washington, just recently. It's one of our Halloween expos, and I'm selling my book, which it's all covered up, but basically, my own RPG. And I had run into this family, and it's just one of those cases where everybody is now playing, and Dad had to be the game master, right? He's never done it before, and they're playing. What's the 10 Towns region in Forgotten Realms? It's the where Drist is, I guess the 10 Towns up in the north. They're playing the Frozen North, right? So the party had displaced some sort of a crime lord, kind of moved in, and then instead of like continuing on the adventure, they opened a hotel, and then they franchised, and then they opened another hotel, and they opened another hotel. And that's what they're doing. And Dad's like, "Oh, we're running a business, okay." And then suddenly they're rolling in money, and Dad has this problem of what he doesn't know. I'm talking to him, and he's like, "I don't know what to do." I'm like, okay, go over here. And I told the family, stay over there. And I have this conversation with the guy, and I gave him a whole bunch of advice. I'm not going to say it here because I'll ruin it for, they're probably in the middle of the bullshit I told them to do. I mean, I suspect one of their hotels was burned down by now because of me. But, what do you do in this situation where the players have become too wealthy, right? Because like one of the GMs generally consider money to be the greatest problem. Right, when the players can buy anything, do anything, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you create a challenge? And so, I know what I told him, but I thought we could put it to you guys, and we could discuss like how to handle some of these situations, right? And taking the money away isn't necessarily the right angle.
I've tried these that kids,
just various ages, right? Yeah. I know. I think the oldest was probably pushing 20. And then, the youngest is like probably 13. So like, none of these people have done it before, but I'll tell you,
Keensmen come in and be like, "You committed tax fraud. We take all your supplies away." Like,
right?
This is too real. Stop.
Well, when we were having this discussion, the oldest one was extremely proud of himself to become, have built this successful hotel chain.
I was actually going to say, this is a great lesson that they learned. Yeah. If you concentrate and work hard, and build your own business.
Can you put that on your resume? I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is that like it doesn't like everybody signed up for high level epic fantasy gameplay. It didn't necessarily sign up to run a business, right? And like my friend Keenan, we had a game with him, and he tried to make us run a business, and nobody was on board for it, right? And so
you can't make them.
No, for sure. But it is an interesting thing because like I've seen this happen many times where like the players get a big windfall. It's like, yes, you give them the magic sword, right? But what if they decide to go sell it and don't keep it? They're supposed to keep it, but this thing is worth millions. Yeah. So have either of you ever had to deal with that situation before?
A little bit. Water. Whenever I ran Waterdeep a lot. And most campaigns, I don't have that problem, but Waterdeep I do because
they're running a bar.
Waterdeep is a great campaign and a terrible campaign in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways it's terrible is that it's in a system 5e, which is supposed to be a low magic system compared to like a lot of other previous editions of D&D. And yet they're in a city where everything you freaking touch is magical. You're like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. So, I actually suggest playing that as a high magic campaign where there's a lot of magic stuff going on and there's magic items are a bit more prevalent. And also as part of that, you run a business. I think they make the business a little bit too hard to make profit. It's like you're losing more often, which I mean, I guess is realistic, but it's not as fun. So yeah, but you always end up with a ton of money in that campaign because you get a wizard spell. There's so many wizards, and you get their spell book, and suddenly you're running in dough, right? Because a high level wizard spell book. And in those cases, if you see D&D items money, the cost of items per rarity scale pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
So I would say just let them have stuff. I mean, it doesn't mean your monsters can't have good stuff too. It's easy. We've talked about this before on scaling monsters. You can go check out those episodes.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy once you get used to, if it's D&D, let's say, it's pretty easy to get used to scaling things on the fly as needed, or just as you prep, make it a little bit tougher. It's pretty easy to do that as needed. So yeah, whatever. It's just, there's the illusion of I'm finally powerful now in D&D, and it is an illusion. So you just have to do that more.
I thought you did a really good job though of handling that bar when you were running it with with Michael and your crazy paladin guy, because like the thing that you did really well, Greg, is you were throwing all these business competitors at them, right? And like making it so like there were storylines surrounding the business, right? And I think that's the problem with the gentleman that I had to talk to, is that he wasn't doing that, and he wasn't making, like, because there's so much fertile ground there for building a plot out of that scenario, and you had done that, and it didn't become an OP problem because because they weren't just running the business all the time, they were still having their adventures, but like they had also all these other problems where the bar created new storylines for them, and I think that's the right way to go about it.
I think so too. And it doesn't have to be competition. You could have union bosses doing stuff. You could have guilds saying that you're doing things outside, and making it difficult for them to actually make profit. So they have to choose between a lot less profit or going against the guild, and that comes up with a whole slew of things, right?
Or the people that show up wanting to know where their protection money is.
Yeah, exactly. Gangs. There's so many things to do with it. And I will say one thing that's actually really good about having that type of business. I had a group that had such big infighting. They spent hours arguing with each other. They fought each other, like actual PvP in some cases. And then when they get back to their building and see a note on it that says your building's condemned because of rats, and they were just, someone put a rat, obviously their competitor put rats in their place. They were all magically together, working as a team. Like they have a new person they hate more, right? It's like nothing unifies them than like having a business, a stake in the world you're in, right? So it's actually a very good thing in a lot of ways.
Marks, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think just stuff you already talked. You just need to change the problems and stakes in the story. Because like if you look at a game like Blades in Dark or related Forge and Dark games, they have factions. So think of factions like you mentioned, gangs and others, other businesses that could be opposing against you. Thieves like to steal from rich people, so now you're more of a target for that kind of stuff.
Thieves Guild, that's your gang right there, looking for protection money, right?
And if the city gets attacked, well, your bar or business is in that city, right? So
that's a good point, especially for later gameplay. Yeah.
Well, like if they're really committed to this business, right, and they want that income flow, right, it's putting it in danger ties them, because that's one of the critical things we've talked about over the course of the series, like because you need to get the players to get really invested in what's happening, right? And that is one way to do it, is you take the thing they care about. And what's interesting also, I've had players who start out playing nobles, right, where they're connected to businesses or have land, they're landed or something. And I tend not to do that so much, because it's like, sometimes you got these guys that want to really exploit this thing, but it isn't necessarily a bad thing to have that situation where because then they have to go back to that place periodically because they have obligations and debts, and like they've got a manager running the land, but they still have to, they still have to show up sometimes, and they have to defend, their situation, right? So it's like, there's all these elements of that can tie somebody to a storyline, and that can make it a lot easier on the game master in a lot of ways.
You said something earlier that I wanted to also touch on. There's you do want to like all games have some way to get better and do it better, right? So whether you're fighting monsters, getting more experience, whether you're opening a business and getting money, right? That's like a measure of success in a way. There's many ways with relationships, with factions, royalty, whatever you're doing, right? And you don't want to, like you said earlier, you don't want to take away that money. You don't want it to just be like, oh, taxes, take it all, right? Because that's a motivation killer, not a motivation enhancer by far.
You are on. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Unless they decide they're going to become the king now.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And it's like if they actually do things to make the business make money, like they take care of that guild master, they take care of the thieves guild somehow, they that competitor they take care of in some way or just compete well. You don't want to be like, okay, here's your 5 gold you made, right? You do want to make it worth it. And you just have to understand, they're going to have money and just deal with it.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it kind of matters what the business is too. Like I said, for example, if you got a restaurant, you could go hunting monsters for food, right? That's a new little trend now.
Sounds like the new animes,
yeah. And or you could there's a Curse of Strahd adventure. I won't go too much into it for spoilers, but you if you take the gig, you got to go get the wine has stopped being sent to this place, and so you need to go investigate what's happened to this wine and go get it. So it just switch it around. Your business owner is like, where's our wine at? We need it. It's killing our business. And then you go on an adventure to go figure that out.
One thing I suggest not doing though is making it a like a management game where you're having to like manage all these other people doing things that are adventures.
No.
Right? You want to make sure you're the main focus doing the things. Otherwise,
that's why in Star Trek the captain goes down to
right.
It would never really happen in real life.
There is one solution to this problem though, is like, because it's not just about the business. Like maybe they come into a whole bunch of wealth, right? Because I said, like, a lot of GMs consider it like the worst scenario to have the players suddenly have a pile of money.
Like I said, a high level wizard, you get their spell book. Woo, that's a lot of money.
Exactly. So what you can also do is you can be proactive on it. Like, you don't just say, here, have the the DM's guide, have fun, go buy whatever you want. Like, you control what goes in the shops, right? And it's like, what you can do is you can proactively say, okay, well, you want to buy something, here it is. Like, give them things to spend it on, but then you be the one suggesting, like, what they get. And you can be very careful in give them something to buy that may not necessarily be the big windfall, or it's like, it's great, but it isn't going to be game breaking, or it facilitates the next part of the campaign, right? Like in the Rifts RPG, it's great because you can spend a lot of money on power armor and weapons and tech, but it's like, you have to maintain that equipment. So just because you have the money to buy a power armor suit doesn't mean that power armor suit just makes you more powerful.
I feel like after level 12 in D&D, for example, or whatever level around there, I feel like you can buy whatever weapons you want, as long as you don't have like super powerful magical items that are easy to buy, right? That I don't think you can get only so much more powerful with your money, right?
Yeah, but like you can, any problem is only so much of a problem as you don't look at the solution it provides. Like, everything that happens in a game also opens a door to another opportunity, right? And so having all that money, it opens opportunities, storyline opportunities for the GM. You just have to go find them and take them, because like, you have this money, but weren't you also taking care of your mother, right? You also have family debts. Like, like, this is where you kind of start dipping into their backstories and go, well, you got this money, but what about this other thing, right?
And it doesn't have to be a burden even. But you can find high-priced things that are not burdens. Like, for instance, what if they go along the docks and they find that there's this large sailboat for sale?
Yeah,
right. It opens up a lot of story, and and the great thing about sea adventures is that they're actually pretty simple and straightforward because there's only so many things you can do when you're out at sea.
Or what about an investment opportunity that has like a high yield? And then now that ties them to that investment where they have to, maybe now that they've invested, they have to protect their investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them buy more. Yeah. I mean, that's what people do in real life, right? If they made a big windfall, they go and buy more and buy more
and,
investments.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when somebody starts threatening their investment, they bust out an M16 and they go attack them to protect it. Yeah.
Exactly like real life.
Exactly, real life. I had another scenario that came up, which is it's not the same thing, but it's kind of tangentially connected. Where we were doing a Palladium Fantasy campaign, and this is the one where my friend Amelia got so hooked on the gameplay, and we started out with this quest that they were on, and it was kind of ultimately going to be like the quest for the whole campaign, and so they were promised, like they had to basically go rescue a princess. Not a princess anymore, but this nobility, like their daughter ran off with a spoony bard, and then he ended up selling her to a brothel, and then they have to go rescue her and bring her back to her family. Yeah, it turned into, it was a huge
human trafficking.
I know, exactly. So they go through this whole thing, and they were promised 5,000 gold to bring her home. Well, by the time they got home with this woman, they had girl, whatever, they probably made 30,000. So it's like it's an interesting thing where if you have this promise of money, and by the time they get to the accomplishing it, it's chump change to them, right? Compared to like how much money they made along the way and all the opportunities they found. And so it's you can run into that very easily, and so you also, but then like, kind of the way you solve that is like, yes, you've done this thing, but think about the political capital you've earned, like the advantages and benefits of helping these people. You're a hero in this community now, and they are going to, you're going to be highly regarded. You have reputation, so it's like the money doesn't matter as much as the other benefits of doing it.
Yeah, it's good branding. You can put on your taxes for marketing expenses.
Yeah, and then they might just reward you with some other stuff. Maybe, oh well, here, have a few other like, oh, you brought my daughter back, thank you. Here's the money, and I mean, these other things, and that weren't in the contract. But And
remember, there's a lot of greedy people out there.
Yes,
you can always use it to. You don't always have to fight your way through things. Sometimes having a lot of money lets you just grease some palms and.
Yep.
You get things that way
checkbook.
Yep.
That's Batman's superpower.
Yeah, I had this situation where I was playing a paladin, but he was like half cleric, half paladin, so he was like a healing, and I was very much into the code of chivalry, and I was running around donating most of the money I made to local charities, and I was sponsoring, like we were sponsoring libraries, right, and all these things. Like I was spending money on community enhancements wherever we went, and it was pissing off one of the players so bad. He's like, "You're wasting time on NPCs that don't even matter. They're not.
They're not real.
They're not real. They have nothing with the plot." And it's like he was so mad at me for wasting money on like resources that we could get stuff. Well, it was my money. I could do whatever I want with it, but it was just pissing him off so much that I had everything I needed. Once I had what I needed, I had money I didn't need. So I'm like, I'll just give it to the orphans, and he was just so upset with me. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm just playing my character. What else can I do?
Yeah. Supposed to be heroes. Yeah. It's a heroic thing.
Yeah. I think that, well, that's the thing, is like I kind of said before, like, if you got a player who's a troublemaker or he's a problem, just give him rope and let him hang himself. Like,
what I would do as a GM, if you have a character who's going on about we need more money. That's when you bring a little devil in there and going, you want more money? Let's make a deal.
Yeah. Well, provide opportunities for that money.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, here, I will give you that money, and you do this thing for me. And then, once that's happened, they're not going to let you stop. Oh, you think you get to stop? That's not how this works at all. Like, yeah, make it like, yeah, because like so many players don't think it through. Like they. I had this one guy. I was just telling a story about him, but like, this friend of ours, wonderful player, like he was great, but like, what a wonderful attitude in terms of like he was always good for anything. But he had this personality flaw where he could not resist the lure of power. And so many times I lured him into bad situations by dangling something right there in front of his face.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like clockwork. Oh my God. One of his characters died because of it, because he's like, oh, neat, now I have this power, and like, no, you never did. It was the artifact on your arm, and it's just like, but he thought, anyway, so it was just, yeah.
Yep. Those are good lessons learned, I think.
Yeah, lessons, yeah. But yeah, like, yeah, if the players have money, it's a problem, but it's also an opportunity, and you need to learn to see the opportunities and take advantage of them.
If that's what they want to do, then just change the stakes, the kind of stories you're telling to go towards that. If they don't want to do it, don't force them. Like you said earlier, you can't force them into something like that.
Well, if they've displaced the crime lord, do you think there's only one? Do you think he wasn't answerable to somebody?
There's always more.
You think there's not a power vacuum? Like, come on, somebody. And you
and if you get too rich, the royalty might start being like, maybe you're getting too rich for maybe
maybe you need to maybe it's time for some fealty. I mean, confer upon you noble titles, kiss the ring. Now you have obligations. One of the worst, sorry, what was that?
It feels like organized crime too.
Exactly. Well, one of the worst things I think I did was I had done this whole thing where the players got talked into playing like a card kind of a gambling game against and it was a friendly game, but there was some money in the pot, and the innkeeper stepped into play, and then he threw this bag in, and they all everybody, one of the players wins, everybody's like, okay, well, good game. He walks off, goes in the back, and they're going through the stakes, and they open up this bag, and like the deed to the tavern is in there. And they're like, uh-oh, and then they go looking for the guy. He's gone. He's already taken off, and they the tavern owed a lot of money to the local crime syndicate. And so now, like, the bad guys are coming to them looking for, hey, you owe me this, 10,000 gold or whatever. So it was like that was fun. And they wanted nothing to do with it. As soon as they sorted that out, they bailed. They weren't, they didn't want to run a business, but yeah, it's like, it's an opportunity. Give them something valuable, and let them roll.
Yeah, I've had a number of player groups want to get a tavern, make their own.
Yeah.
Something about D&D. Just gotta get a tavern.
Yep. If they're willing to stay in one place, and often they're not. My friend Jeff, we were playing Night Spawn one time, and my friend Jeff was like, started out with like, there's an antiquarian class in one of the books where you just basically you're just wealthy, but like your money's kind of wrapped up in investments. But like that's the backstory is he owned an old embassy and it was full of like this massive collection of art. And he has money, but it's like all of his money is being spent on this bizarre collection. And so it ends up becoming the whole kind of the plot, because you have Lord knows what's in this place, and some of it could be supernatural. You kind of start building off of that. But it was it was an interesting idea. It's like playing a character who's wealthy, right? But they don't necessarily have money, right? The wealth comes in the form of stuff, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of rules lately on downtime that popped up since probably Blades of Dark started that, and then it's been picked up by a lot of people. And so you could use like a mini downtime game for your profits or something. It would have to be very unique to whatever you're doing, but you could make a game within a game.
Yeah, well, I had an idea for a character like, okay, well, how could Bruce Wayne be a character in Heroes Unlimited, right? Because they have like the mega hero that they added to the most recent edition of that game, where you've got an absolutely ridiculously difficult XP chart, but yet you're kind of like Superman powerful. And I had this thought of like, okay, well, what if instead of power, you get resources instead? So you have the same XP chart, which is crazy ridiculous, like leveling up as a dragon, but then like you get money, but like you don't necessarily have like, you don't have $1 million you can spend, because all that money is wrapped up in the assets of your business. But you get a certain amount that you're allowed to have every month. So you have resources to, like, you can spend it on the power suit or the Batmobile or the equipment or whatever, right? And Palladium has a ton of things to spend it on. But like,
sounds like a wealth check system like a D20 Modern had.
Right. But you only get so much, right, annually to spend. And if you have to overspend, then you are you can get extra money now, but you're permanently cashing out your investments, which reduces how much you get long term. It was just an idea, but like you could, like that is a way to handle that. Like, and if you, lose it all, you could spend yourself into oblivion if you're not careful.
They get a debt. Then collectors come after you.
Yeah. Then you have to start selling your estate. Right?
Yeah, I guess sell organs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you only need one kidney, Marks. So, yeah.
All right. Any other tips you want to share before we close up?
I think that covers it. I mean, it's. I mean, for my money, it's just about like, there's an opportunity in every problem, right? And like it isn't a problem for them to have started up a hotel chain. The problem is like, it is that what the players do sets what the adventure is going to be in a lot of ways. And if that's what they've done, then that is where your inlet is for where you create the drama and the challenge. And, they may get the message and eventually move on. But, like,
a lot of campaigns have HQs, right? A headquarters for the group, and that's
totally.
fine.
Yep.
And making money and spending money is fun.
Yeah. And, let them have their fun. The next campaign, they'll probably do something else.
I will say you'll probably have to make some list of things they can buy because they're going to go looking. And we've talked about that in other games with magic items. So check that out. It's a thing you do once and then you have it for every single campaign you play after. So it's so check out those episodes too on magic items
and buying things that aren't indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's like, because you have this idea that the magic sword's indestructible. It really isn't. And, it's like if they have a magic item that requires to be maintained in some way, or maybe it has to be recharged or whatever it is, but like, they, give them something that kind of erodes the wealth is actually not a bad idea.
Gotta taste blood every day.
Yes. The blood of the innocent. Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so hopefully some of those tips help. This is episode 50, as we said mentioned before. This is the end or finale of season 1. So we'll be back after a month or two, depending on when this airs, with season 2. So, and let us know what you think in the comments. How do you handle wealth in your games when your characters get a little wealthy? And let us know. We'll make it a conversation in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And say keywords like Shadowdark, Daggerheart, and stuff like that.
Cyber symbiosis.
Cyber symbiosis, yes. And those kind of noises too. I don't know what happened. But check out the playlist for all 50 episodes, and we'll be back with season 2 of even hopefully another 50 more episodes. So, all right, thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Everybody get wealthy.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky. But when they crash, it's a belly laugh. Genre play.